While immediately a lot of gamers instantly go to the switch from physical games to more just online only games as to being the biggest change in the gaming industry, I would say probably the biggest for gamers themselves is actually this right here. I won't lie, I always love these, mostly because you get to see through it and see the cartridge itself. I would personally say it's better than the controllers that you can see through. Yeah, it's cool getting to see the wires, even though sometimes it looks very hollow. I would say the cartridge is always like 10 times better. Hello, I'm your Christian gamer Noah Price, a gamer who loves RPGs and JRPGs and just gaming in general. While this channel is more focused on RPGs and covering them and talking about said games, kind of reviewing them or not, sometimes those videos take forever, so we get videos like this to where I get to just talk about whatever I want to talk about. A lot of times it is topics that are tightly connected to not just gamers, but specifically Christian gamers. You know, that's how I am, and sometimes we get unique situations that are interesting to talk about. But today we're going to be talking about something that I haven't heard anybody really talk about too much really at all, and it's just a little experience that I kind of recalled a while ago, and I think this will relate to a lot of just gamers in general. Again, as said at the beginning, yes, I do think it's been a big change from physical and owning a bigger collection of games has really switched from that to, well, just online is more convenient and easier. While I have a lot of thoughts about that, that's not what we're dealing with here. Now, the differences between these two cartridges is not just, well, size alone. The biggest thing is, well, memory. See, on this cartridge here in this Zelda, if I were to put it in, said, well, Game Boy right here and just play it, cool, I got my save file from this. And then if let's say this Game Boy dies, or breaks, or gets confiscated because for some reason I took it to school and got caught with it, well, as long as I have the game, I could always ask a friend if I could borrow his Game Boy, and then I can keep playing. The problem with these cartridges now is that it's very similar to, well, what you would normally get with discs. Just because you have a disc of said game doesn't mean you could just play it anywhere. Well, you can, it's just you don't have your save file. You need your console if you want to make personally progress through a game. And the biggest switch between these kind of cartridges happened with, well, first the GameCube. This is where it first made that switch, and that's because Nintendo just took its step into disc content. While I'm not a tech savvy dude, through doing a disc instead of a cartridge, you weren't able to store actually memory of that much. That's where we get actually memory cards and having to have that and carry that around. And while yes, that's kind of the same feeling, you could go from console to console with your memory card and a disc, it just wasn't the same feeling as growing up with a cartridge. I knew that no matter what, as long as I had my cartridge, I could always technically play my game and continue my game. I just had to find a GameCube to play. Now, I'm not saying this is better than how it is nowadays to where you have a cartridge, because I would say nowadays it does have the great benefit of, since you have a disc, if somebody wants to play and make progress, you could always, well, let them borrow it. Or two people can really just both own said single disc, both cover half of the charge to buy it in the first place, then you just pass it back and forth to play it. And because you have your different consoles, you have your own, well, play through your own storage on it. But I would say this isn't the same feeling. You're more likely to break it that way, but like with these cartridges, especially if they were like a Legend of Zelda, which actually had multiple save files, then you didn't have this problem. This was easy. You still could switch that around, borrow it and all that, and still everybody had their own save file through that. I would say that was my problem with Pokemon here, because Pokemon, for some reason, they don't like having several save files. I think it's silly that they don't, to be honest. I think in any game, especially nowadays, if you could do multiple save files, do multiple save files. I still remember first time playing a Final Fantasy game. It was Final Fantasy VII, and starting it up and going to save, and they had multiple save files, like a ridiculous amount. And yes, that is for people who like to make a new save every single time they save the game, which I don't like too much. It gets cluttered, but I do understand its benefit in case you do X, Y, and Z, you go too far, something like that, and you want to go back, it's easier to go back. I know, it has its purpose. But again, I was just reminiscing about that good old days of having the cartridge and just its uniqueness compared to at the time of Xbox or even just PlayStation and their disc and having to worry about memory cards and not having to worry about it. The problem is nowadays these boys are sadly throughout time are deteriorating and you have to do X, Y, and Z to replace it, and it's kind of sad having old Game Boy games that I try to play in and then it turns out I can't save because the part has worn out. Like, all that's really sad, and honestly, this was just a weird topic that was on my mind. I'm working on a big review that should be coming out next week, so you guys should be excited for it, but I just wanted to share this sauce because why not? I want to talk to you guys. If I have something in my head, why not share it? Why not? But let me know down in the comments, like, which do you like more? Do you have a preference between how the old style was with cartridges, or do you kind of like how it is with discs? Again, I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. It's interesting how there was this difference and how that's not really a thing anymore. Well, I am Noah Price, your Christian gamer. Jesus loves you. I'll see you guys in another video.